What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Sports Opinions podcast. I know you're probably saying, what the hell, another episode already? It took them 4 months to get episode 3 out. Now we already have episode 4. With me today, a little bit of nepotism. I have my brother, David Cuesta, with me. Say what's up, Dave.
Oh, what's up? It's good to be here.
All right. Yeah, David is a junior over at George Mason. What's your major, Dave?
I'm an accounting major, and I'm hoping it's not too boring.
So, yep, David's my brother, and with that comes the unfortunate part that we were raised as Jets fans, and we've had to go through a whole bunch of torture being Jets fans, and all the downs, mostly downs, a few ups, mostly downs. But this year so far, we've had a lot of pleasant surprises with the Jets. A lot of it branches on the back of Josh McCown and his surprising play as the journeyman made it over to the Jets, 38 years old, low expectations. Everyone thought the Jets were going to be the worst team in the league, and they came out and they've just been kicking everyone in the teeth and playing tough. Recently, Josh McCown went down to a broken left hand, which I think is a blessing in disguise for him. He was getting hit a lot. Dave, what do you think with the QB situation right now? McCown's out. We have Petty, who looked terrible. Hackenberg, who we have no idea what he could do. We never seen him play. What do you think about the QB situation going on right now?
With the QB situation going on right now, I mean, obviously you have McCown out, so he's going to be gone. I don't know if we're going to re-sign him or not, but Petty did not look good at all. Just completely missed targets easily. And, I mean, if they're not going to Hackenberg, I think that just shows what he's showing in practice. I don't think I can say, oh, they should put in Hackenberg just to see what he has if they already know and they're not putting him in over Petty already.
And the unfortunate part is, like, you see Petty. Petty has an absolute cannon of an arm. He can make every single throw. That's not his problem. And even on the first throw that he made when he came in, it was a short little out, but it had a lot of zip on it. It was accurate as all hell. And then he goes and he throws a few more balls. They're in the dirt. There's an overthrow to Robbie Anderson, which was absolutely miserable. And it's like it was two different quarterbacks. So he's going to start. Do you think there's going to be anything good to come out of that start this weekend? Where are they playing? The Saints this weekend?
Yes. I don't know. I can't entirely see much good coming out of it. I mean, I'm trying to be a fan of Bryce Petty, but out of all he's shown us, I mean, we've had him for a bit now, and he hasn't.
I think it's
really
3 years now.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't shown enough to get the starting job over Geno and now over a veteran in Josh McCown, who did not have a good season last season. And so I'm not entirely expecting too much. Of course, I hope he does great. I hope he does really well, but I can't really see much happening against the good Saints defense that they have this year.
Now, we've gotten through a little bit of the negatives with, McCown getting hurt, Petty coming in, who I don't think any of us have faith in. Hackenberg, we can't have faith in because we haven't seen the guy. So we can move on. Obviously, we need a quarterback. The Jets have needed a legit quarterback since 1968. Broadway Joe, shout out Joe. Only Super Bowl for the Jets. We saw a lot of good things, though. We saw the emergence of Robbie Anderson. We saw Bilal Powell be Bilal Powell.
We saw Elijah McGuire break a couple plays.
Elijah McGuire, yeah, and I know I discussed with Rob a little bit about the young guys, about Jamal Adams last week in the last episode, Marcus May. But you look at other guys. You have Jordan Jenkins, Darren Lee, Leonard Williams, Robbie Anderson. A lot of these young guys. We're getting Quincy Enunwa back. How do you feel about the future of the Jets? Are you confident as a fan with the next few years that we're going to be a playoff team?
I'm pretty confident, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, a lot of teams, I mean, we can talk about how the Jags have been before this year, where you have young players and you're like, yeah, I'm really confident for the future. We're going to do very well next year. And then the next year comes and you're not doing that well because maybe the offseason didn't go too well. So, and injuries happen. So I am confident. I do think we can become a lot better, especially off the grit, the hustle we've shown this year. If we can continue that, we'll still be good. We'll still at least be decent and fearsome in each week. But I honestly, it's hard to completely believe every single time because we all know how this goes with a lot of teams. We all know how a lot of teams fumble this in the offseason. So I'm hoping we can make a move for the quarterback position and guarantee that our future can be a success through this offseason.
Now, I trust Mike McCagnon. I think he's done a pretty good job as the GM. You know, I've seen a lot of detractors still against him. I just think he's made a lot of good small moves. I thought Curse was a great move. I think Forte's been good. He's been flashy. I think the limited use this year has been great for him.
Yeah.
Where do you see us getting a quarterback? Are we drafting one this year? Are we trading up to get one of the big guys? Are we going free agency? What do you think McCagnon's going to do?
I personally think he shouldn't really entirely go to drafting one. I just don't like the possibility of it being a bust again and us having another lost year. I think there's a lot of people we can actually now pick up in free agency. I mean, I know that I've been high on Tyrod Taylor. I know the Bills for some reason don't like him at all.
Neither do I.
I mean, I think he's a possibility. I mean, you also have Kirk Cousins, which is the obvious one. We can throw the bank at him if we really want him.
Absolutely.
But I mean, there's a lot of people that could come and that are young. I mean, you have like Jacoby Brissett that could possibly be useful if Andrew Luck comes back and the Colts decide to get rid of him. We have so many other people that we could take chances on that have already played in the NFL.
Teddy or Case Keenum.
Not played in the NFL.
Teddy or Case Keenum. I don't think Minnesota's going to keep them both. So whoever they decide to discard. Now, it would be interesting to me. Do you think McCagnon tries to sweeten up a deal and maybe trade for A.J. McCarron? A.J. McCarron has some experience. When Andy Dalton went down, he played a hell of a playoff game. We haven't seen him again this year, but is he a guy that, McCagnon rolls the dice on, takes a flyer on, and maybe gives him a shot? Or is he someone you kind of stay away from because you haven't seen that experience?
I mean, for me, I'm not too high on A.J. McCarron. I'm not going to lie to you. But I think it's not a bad shot to take, but I also know how Alabama QBs go, and I don't entirely trust him.
We had McElroy, and he showed that he wasn't much.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't entirely trust them because when you're on that team, you don't exactly have to be the best QB coming out. You don't exactly have to overachieve and make yourself become a great star in the NFL.
So going into the Saints game, the Jets are technically mathematically still alive for the playoffs, which no one thought we'd be at this point, but they're there. But we all know in our heart of hearts that the playoffs are not a thing, especially with McCown officially being out. We're not making the playoffs. Now, shifting gears, there's a lot of really, really good divisional battles and some fearsome wild card races going on in both conferences. I'm going to run down some of the divisions that are already locked in. The AFC East, Patriots are 10-3. They're miles ahead of everyone. They're in the playoffs.
It's always a thing.
Yeah, they're always there. Brady and Belichick always do their thing. Steelers 11-2, tied for the best record in football. They keep on pulling it off with the Boz kicking these last-second field goals. Somehow they're pulling it off. Shazier might come to bite them in the butt that they don't have him down the stretch, but right now they're in the playoffs. You have. Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I mean, you can say whatever you want about them just making the last second field goals, but hey, great teams find ways to win.
Absolutely.
You can say whatever you want about the Steelers, but they find ways to win.
And keep going with that. You have the NFC East, the Eagles. They lose Carson Wentz, but they have Nick Foles, who they have a lot of confidence in. I'm not very high on Nick Foles. I call the dude Napoleon Dynamite all the time because he looks exactly like Napoleon Dynamite.
He really does.
But, and people point to his success. His success was under Chip Kelly and under a completely different system. I think that he's going to be able to be okay. There's some good stars. The running game is stout. That defense is playing well. But I don't know if the Eagles are going to have the pop. I think their Super Bowl dreams went with Carson Wentz completely. But they're a lock-in. They're 11-2.
Yeah.
My pick for the Super Bowl, the Vikings, they're a lock in the NFC North. They're 10-3. Case Keenum shocking the world. Adam Thielen doing the same. Stephon Diggs taking a backseat to Thielen, which I don't think anybody saw coming.
No.
But, losing Dalvin Cook, still running like psychos. Vikings are set. But now we get into the interesting part, and I'm going to jump around a little. I'm going to start with my basically least intriguing to the most intriguing. Least intriguing has to be the AFC West, just based off the fact that their records are miserable. You have the Chiefs and the Chargers tied at 7-6. You have the Raiders at 6-7. Out of those three, who do you see coming out and making the playoffs?
I see the Chargers coming out and making the playoffs. They have all the momentum. They just dominated the Redskins. And I mean, the Redskins shouldn't be as bad as they look from week to week sometimes, but the Chargers just have been playing out of their minds. You have Keenan Allen making history with what he's done recently. You have Phillip Rivers basically deciding he doesn't want to be a losing team anymore. You have Melvin Gordon. You have all of these people coming out making plays. That defense is fast. That defense can work well there. And I mean, the Chiefs broke down. The Raiders just haven't looked like the Raiders they're supposed to look like. And the Chargers, all they've been doing is winning after 4 weeks of losing. They've been winning and finding ways.
Do you remember when everyone hated the Chargers because Joey Bosa wasn't getting the deal he wanted? And now the dude is an absolute psycho. No one can block Joey Bosa. He is literally right now a J.J. Watt, smaller version, and he's just running roughshod. And the Chargers, historically, they've done this. They're a second half team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up 10-6 if they run the table. I have no idea who their schedule is, but I really don't care.
They're playing the Chiefs next. I see them winning that game.
And that's huge because if they get that, if the Chiefs, the past 2 weeks the Chiefs' offenses look better. Against the Jets, they looked really good. Yeah. They put up 31 points. Last week they didn't look great. They didn't score a lot of points, but they looked better than they did during their losing streak. So this could be a fun game. And this game, honestly, the Raiders are in it mathematically. I don't consider the Raiders in it. Derek Carr has not looked the same. I think it was a mistake getting rid of Latavius Murray for Marshawn Lynch. Everyone loves beast mode, but he's not the same. He broke some big runs this year, but he's not the same player. The receivers are disappointing. Crabtree and Cooper can't get any separation this year. So I think the Raiders are out of it. I think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are also going to play their way out of it. I agree with you. I think the Chargers are going to go in, and I think the Chargers are going to do damage in the playoffs. I don't think Phillip Rivers goes away quietly this year.
I don't think anyone would want to play the Chargers in the playoffs. I mean, there's teams in the AFC that have potential to be wild card teams that no one's going to want to play because you could easily lose these games. You lose any track of what you're doing on the field, and there might be a touchdown or an interception happening.
So it's exactly. So there's a lot to look forward to, and AFC West. Well, we just talked a lot about it because I think the Chargers are the story there, and I wish the Chargers had a better start to the year because I think they're as good as any other team. We're going to move on to the next battle that I find pretty damn intriguing, and it's got to go to the NFC South. Another 3-team battle. You have the Saints at 9-4, the Panthers at 9-4, with our good friend Brittany Hackett, huge Panthers fan, and the Falcons sitting at 8-5. I don't know, something about me. I already consider the Falcons out. I don't like that team dynamic this year. I know they're getting better offensively, but I just don't see it. I think the Saints have a defense. They have a running game, which is insane. I think they're the team to beat. The Panthers rely on Cam way too much. Devin Funchess is playing out of his damn mind. What do you think in that division? Who's coming out there?
I think the division winner, I have to go with the Saints. When you look at the Saints team this year, they actually have a defense, which is amazing to see out of a Saints team.
And this is a team that they brought in Rob Ryan years ago to get this kind of exact defense that they're playing right now, and it was absolutely a joke. And this year, all of a sudden, that defense steps up, and there's a lot of guys that nobody knows that they're gonna know pretty damn soon because that defense is stellar.
Oh yeah, Drew Brees has the team that he might have wanted all of his career. Like, it's insane how much he has around him. Kamara is gonna be amazing in the NFL in his career. He just can't go down, and it makes no sense. So I'm gonna have to go with the Saints, even though I love Cam Newton on the Panthers. I just don't think that they have helped Cam enough on the Panthers this year. I mean, you look at it. You gave away Kelvin Benjamin. I mean, Funchess has been playing great while he's away, but still, you gave away a core part of that wide receiving core. And that defense is playing great, but I just don't think the offense can do enough sometimes.
But an interesting factoid, the offense has been a lot better since Benjamin's been gone, and that's really weird because I consider Kelvin Benjamin to be one of the premier big prototype, strong, good hands receivers. But I don't know if Cam just relied on him way too much and looked his way too often. But their offense clicks a lot better without him there, and it's really weird.
Well, yeah, it could have been that. It could have been that Cam relied on Kelvin a little too much. But I also think it also could have been the offensive coordinator. Maybe he relied on Kelvin a little too much. Maybe since Kelvin's gone now, he has to do a little more trickery, a little more fun stuff has to happen on the offensive sides. And I mean, that's what the Jets have had to do this year. That's what teams have to do when you maybe don't have the star power on your offense. You need to mess around, you need to be unpredictable, and that helps your offense.
I couldn't even agree more. And also, am I going out on a limb to say that this Saints team is better than their Super Bowl team? Because I really think that this Saints team is better than that Super Bowl winning Saints team.
I think that's definitely an argument you could make. I just think there isn't entirely too much of a weakness to the Saints team at all. Like it's weird to say because you think Saints, oh, it's just Drew Brees throwing for 5,000 yards in a year. The defense is terrible. They probably make the playoffs because of Drew Brees, but only because of Drew Brees, and that's not this year.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's a weird, it's a bizarro year when you see the Saints defense as a top 5, maybe even top 3 defense.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on to our next division. The AFC South is relevant. They have 2 good teams. The Titans laid a stinker this week, but they have the Jags sitting up top 9-4, arguably the best defense in the league. And then you have the Titans right behind them at 8-5 with Marcus Mariota finally playing some big boy football. So right there, honestly, I have no clue. I think Blake Bortles, he's heard all the noise that he is such a weakness, and he's done.
Yeah.
He is done hearing that. He has played out of his mind these past 2 weeks, and he's just doing things that we didn't think he could do. And he heard the rumblings of Eli reconnecting with Tom Coughlin and coming to save the day and winning the Super Bowl. And he's like, hell no, I'm still here. I'm still playing football. This is my team. I'm not giving up Leonard Fournette and Chris Ivory, that running game.
Exactly.
So,
I mean,
I don't know who's going to come out of that division. I have no clue. I'm not going to lie.
Honestly, if I'm going to go with a division winner, I'm going to have to go with the Jaguars. I mean, like you said about Blake Bortles, I mean, what kind of quarterback is going to give up a team like that? Like, all Blake Bortles needs to do is be decent. He doesn't even have to be great on that team. He has to be decent because that defense is most likely going to give you a turnover, give you a short field. Your running game is astounding. You don't need you have all the help in the world. All you need to do is not turn the ball over and maybe throw 5 yards at least every time because your wide receivers can break for maybe 8 or 10 each time. So he doesn't need to do that much to make this team great. And I think he's realized that. And since he doesn't have that pressure on him, he can play even better now.
And also, this just came to my mind. Isn't Allen Robinson out for the year? Aren't they without their best wide receiver? And, people forget that Blake Bortles relied on him. I get Allen Hurns is really good. Marquise Lee is good. Day-Day Westbrook has come out of nowhere and playing just awesome football as a receiver. But Allen Robinson was a premier up-and-coming receiver in this league. And he goes down, and Blake Bortles loses his favorite target, and they are still one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah.
So, I might have to lean that way. I wouldn't be surprised if Mariota, he's starting to show that pedigree that everyone thought he had this year.
That's true.
Wouldn't be surprised if Mariota pulled out something in the end. I think either one of these teams are going to make the wild card, which is going to make it intriguing because they can both play spoiler to whoever the hell they play. But, if you put my feet to the fire, I'm going to go Jags right now, but Titans would not surprise me coming out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. The Titans' loss to the Cardinals this week was a little disheartening on their part, on their bid for the playoffs. I don't know. You lose to 4 field goals against the Cardinals team that hasn't shown up entirely this year. And I know on paper the Cardinals team isn't that bad, but still, you got to perform better than that to be a playoff team.
Yeah, the Cardinals show up every once in a while. They're a weird team. They every once in a while they have it. Every once in a while they look like, oh, that's the Cardinals team that, was throwing all around the yard and scoring 30 a week. And then you have other games where it's like, oh, that's the Cardinals? What the hell? Where did this come from? So it is a little disappointing to their playoff hopes, but they're sitting at 8-5. They're sitting pretty. That's a good spot to be in. So that's going to be definite battle to watch for. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Last battle. This has got to be my most shocking. The Rams. I did not buy the Rams this year. I thought they were going to be trash. I didn't think Jared Goff was worth the pick that they spent on him. They're sitting at 9-4 atop the division.
Yep.
And they're just playing out of their minds. We knew how good that defense was, but God, that offense. And, it's the young coach is coming in there and just spicing everything up. He has dudes older than him looking up to him as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. And then you go to the flip side. You have the Seahawks staring down their neck at 8-5. Russell Wilson's dangerous. You have the oldest coach in football, Pete Carroll, which is kind of pretty fun. You have the youngest coach leading division, oldest coach in football right behind him.
Yeah.
But the Seahawks are breathing down their neck. They lost their cool a good amount this week in that loss to the Jaguars. So, Pete Carroll needs to reel them in. At this point, I want to drink the Kool-Aid with the Rams. I really do. I still can't. I don't know what they have to do to prove to me that they're a legitimate team. I can't drink that Kool-Aid. I think the Seahawks somehow figure out a way to jump them in these final few weeks, and I think the Seahawks take the division. What do you got?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with the Rams because they have proved to me that they have the ability to win this division. And honestly, the Seahawks haven't been their consistent selves this year. They haven't looked like the team they've been like in the past. And I mean, it looks like Russell Wilson literally needs to pull out heroics in almost every game for them to win, which Russell Wilson is able to do it, but can he do it all the time? I don't think he can. Almost no one can. And the Rams, Todd Gurley is playing out of his mind. Jared Goff is trying to show that he can at least be somewhat compared to Carson Wentz and saying, listen, I was picked just as well. I can do just as well. And he's having a breakout year as well. I feel like the Rams team, without Jeff Fisher now, that was a great move, apparently.
Jesus, Jeff Fisher. Thank God that, I never root for guys to get fired. I know it's an old adage, but come on. The guy's the most average coach of all time. 8-8.
Exactly.
He's Mr. 8-8. Like, that doesn't cut it.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I believe in them. They have been just entertaining the whole entire year. They can find themselves in shootouts and usually end up winning them. So, I don't know. I'm going to go with the Rams in this division. I think the Seahawks are too inconsistent, and Russell Wilson's going to have to do too much for that team.
That's definitely a fair point completely. Now, is a small part of you super happy that Sheldon Richardson is playing awful for the Seahawks? Like, oh my God, he was such a cancer in that Jets locker room. And, it showed with him gone and a few of the guys that McCagnon got rid of this year. That locker room is so tight, not to bring it completely back to the Jets, but small part of me is super happy that Sheldon Richardson just doesn't show up every week. And it's great. It just makes us look like geniuses.
Yeah, I know. I definitely get the happiness. I don't know. To me, I don't know how many other fans share the sentiment, but I get a little connected to the players on my favorite teams. So even when they go off, even if they were bad in the locker room and stuff like that, like I understand they weren't fit for the culture of the team, but I still want to see them perform pretty well. Like I still want to see
You're
him
a
do.
softie, Dave.
Hey man, I don't know. It's just a connection. I mean, you want to get their jerseys, you want to root for them. So I don't know.
Now I'm just going to get this out in the open. It's a complaint that I've had for a long time with a few quarterbacks in the NFL, a few teams, Russell Wilson being one of those quarterbacks, Big Ben. So few of these guys, being a Jets fan, I know a lot about penalties, and it seems like every big play we've ever had in the history of our team after 68 has been called back by a holding. Why is it that guys like Russell, Big Ben, even Aaron Rodgers can hold the ball for 8 seconds at a time, scramble around, take forever, then find a guy deep down the field and, oh, he's a genius. But you go back and watch the replay and you see 6 or 7 holdings, blunt, clear, that would be called on, and Brady gets this too, that would be called on every other team in the NFL, but these select few. I'm not the biggest conspiracy theorist, but I think there's something to be said about not even the NFL, because obviously Goodell hates the Patriots, but certain teams, I don't know if they've earned the right, because the Seahawks haven't been around and doing this that long. There wasn't that long ago that the Seahawks are one of the worst franchises in the league. But it's like, I don't know if refs just kind of, I don't know if they're just privied or if they're told to big plays are great. So let these guys do whatever the hell they want. They've earned it. Because I don't know, we've talked about a lot in the group chat that the Seahawks are probably the luckiest team on the face of the planet over the Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll era. They have been, they're talented. They're a good group back there, but I think they've been luckier than they've been good, even in their Super Bowl runs. Besides the Peyton Manning Super Bowl, where they literally just killed Peyton Manning. That was just disgusting. They showed up, Broncos didn't. But, for the most part, I just think they've been a real lucky and fortunate team that the refs look the other way. Do you agree with this? Like, I don't know if other people just see me as sour grapes because I'm a Jets fan. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I can understand why, like, where you can say the refs are looking the other way. I mean, I know I've definitely said it before, especially in anger during a football game. There's no doubt about that. I can guarantee a lot of people have said the same thing about many other teams. But, I mean, I think sometimes the refs, maybe they're watching the play themselves and they're not even watching the line anymore. They're like, oh, my goodness, he's actually doing this. Like, how did this small man get away, or how is he still moving? And they're not even looking at the line. Maybe that's happening.
Yeah,
maybe
but is
they
it
are
something?
giving them a little bit of better treatment on the field.
But is it something they see the Jets doing it and they're like, they're not supposed to do this? Let's figure out some way to flag them. Like, I don't know. It just always seems that way. Like, the Jets get that, There's certain teams that just, I can see, we're probably the Browns. The Browns probably make a good play, and it's like, haha, nope, sorry, guys. You're the biggest flop in sports. Let's keep it that way. Like, come on.
I completely understand, and for the most part, I do agree with you. But I do like to at least give a little bit of benefit of a doubt to the refs. Try not to have that much of a conspiracy about it. Because, I mean, I want to completely believe that everything's being called at least mostly fair. I mean, obviously there's bad calls, like the 2 ASJ calls that happened, that calling them not touchdowns this year. Oh, my
Jesus Christmas.
Obviously, things just very much seem like they're called against teams for no reason. Or they're not being called for teams because it seems like they want this team to do better.
Tuck rule.
But I don't know. I want the refs to seem like they're fairer than a lot of people might want it to seem.
Yeah, I want it. And speaking of unfair, this warms my heart. Yankees acquire Giancarlo Stanton. There's something about the Yankees getting the league MVP of the NL, the number 1 home run hitter, to go with the number 2 home run hitter that was already on the team in Aaron Judge. The hate from so many other fans, from Mets fans, Red Sox fans, every fan, the evil empire has returned, and that's the way. George Steinbrenner is the happiest dead man alive right now, and I said alive, and I mean it. His ghost is hanging out. His ghost was in there with Cashman and his sons going, we do this? He
told them to make the deal.
Oh, he appeared to them, and he's like, seriously, I'm going to haunt all of you if you don't do something stupid like I would have done. I did not leave
Christmas Carol.
I didn't leave you billions to save it. You better spend it. Like, what do you feel? I know you're not the biggest baseball guy, but I do know you grew up a Yankee fan. How do you feel about the Stanton trade?
I don't know. I love it. I definitely do love it because, I mean, we're getting another big time home run hitter. That's what we are. We're the Bronx Bombers. We're supposed to be the Bronx Bombers. We're supposed to be those guys that buy out the World Series, as Rob would say. So
Rob's a salty Mets fan. We didn't mention that last week, but Rob is a salty Mets fan.
Yeah, like it's as a Yankees fan, and I mean, like you said, I don't follow baseball as much, but as a Yankees fan, I always love being the evil empire, especially since I'm fans of more underdog teams in other sports. It's fun. It's fun to be the fan of the team that does the mean things in some sports. Yeah,
like I get why Patriots fans are so ridiculously in your face about how good they are. It feels good every once in a while to be able to brag and be able to back it up.
Yeah, like I'm gonna get mad at the Patriots fans for doing that, but like it's fun to be the Yankees fan that does that to other people in baseball. Because I mean, it's just a good time.
Now you look at this, and it was a great deal. I love it. Bringing star power to the Yankees. Is it going to work with the new
Hmm.
manager? That's yet to be seen. Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
We got the. I'm not going to judge the guy first, but if you look at just the roster perspective, we're going to take away from the hitting lineup right now. We know there's plenty of hitting. Is this going to be
Hmm.
enough to overcome what was, overperforming starting pitching last year that might fall right back down to earth this year? Tanaka was
Yeah.
shaky and then really became an ace, but who the hell knows what you're going to get with him if he's going to be healthy?
Yeah.
CC had the comeback of his career. Is it more of the same? Is he going to be able to pull more Andy Pettit and have a few good years? Or is he going to fall back down to earth? It's just they need to go out and get another power arm that can really back them up. Severino looks like he could be the guy, but who
Hmm.
knows year to year? We don't have a proven starting rotation. Is the addition of Stanton, this lineup, this power, these runs, can we see another magical year where World Series expectations are here? They're back.
Oh yeah.
Is it going to happen with this mediocre starting pitching? Do they need to get another arm? What's going to happen? What do you think we can do this year as a Yankees team?
I mean, World Series expectations were here before the Stanton trade. We were almost there last year.
One game away.
So they were going to be here. Yeah, they were going to be here no matter what. No matter what the Yankees did. So I mean, you definitely want to try to go out and get another arm, but I think this lineup really helps no matter what happens. I mean, you got to look on the bright side for these pitchers. You got to hope that they're going to keep riding the high. But I mean, with this lineup that we now have, you are scaring every single other pitcher in the league. When they're pitching against you, they're going to be like, okay, what's going to happen this game? How many home runs might be hit off me this game? Because you can never know what's going to happen with this lineup that you're pitching against.
The knock off it is the power is very righty heavy with Sanchez, Judge, Stanton, very righty heavy. Greg Bird is really the only power bat that's a lefty. Didi showed some power last year, but you never know if that's going to go all the time with those middle infielders. We lost Castro.
Yeah.
He gave us some good power. Doubt
Yeah.
Frazier is going to be back. He was a power guy. Headley's now out via trade. That leaves Ronald Torreyes being the second baseman. Possibly Gleyber Torres if he's ready coming up and playing third, but we don't know the type of power this kid has. He has AAA stuff, but you have to prove it in the bigs. Is there going to be enough parity in this lineup where you just get a power right-handed arm, a guy like Chris Sale who's a power righty, Verlander a power righty, these dudes that can really come in and some of these guys killed Judge. Judge couldn't hit these guys. Stanton has struggled traditionally against these guys. They know how to pitch them. As vaunted as this lineup is there going to be enough parity? This is really, we're going to see if Boone is worth anything because if he has to make a good lineup. If he can make a good lineup and mix it up, then I think we'll be okay. But I think that it would really go far if we get another lefty bat in this lineup that can bat in between those guys.
Yeah. No doubt. That would definitely help. And I mean, this lineup, it's going to be tested a bit. Judge is going to be tested a bit because, I mean, while he hit a lot of home runs, he also mainly hit home runs. Like, he didn't really have the greatest average out of that. Like, he struck out.
Well, I think he was
time.
280, and for a power hitter, a 6-foot-plus ogre like he is,
Oh, yeah.
280 is good, and I think we can't expect much better than 280. He's going to
That's true.
strike out a lot. He's faster than you think. It's going to be, and they have a good problem. Both Stanton and Judge play right field. We talked about this earlier today. You could start one in right field. You could DH the other one. Each of them get a day of rest built in. You could switch literally every game, and these guys never have to take a true break. That's pretty damn cool to have both your guys in the lineup and don't have to have both of them playing position all the time. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to do that, but I mean, the possibility of doing that, just having that option there is always a great thing to have. So.
Now, you look at this lineup, they lost to the Astros. They were one game away. Home field might have been that switch because they didn't lose a single game when they were at home in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Does the addition of Stanton give them enough to get past an Astros team?
I think it might. I think but I also think a lot of it has to do with experience for this team. Because I mean, like you said, they basically they went undefeated at home. Not basically, they actually did in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But while away, they performed terribly. So I mean, now they have the experience in the playoffs. They have a year. A lot of them have a year under their belt, or they have another year under their belt. With the experience comes more mental fortitude. So I think just not even the addition of Stanton might help them away, but just that extra year, that extra experience helps them get ready for these away games that happen in the playoffs that they can definitely win.
And, one last note on this Yankees trade with Stanton that, I thought was the best part of it. We didn't give away any of our big three prospects. Justice Sheffield is still there. Clint Frazier, still there. Gleyber Torres, still there. We gave him away for Starlin Castro, who gave us some great seasons, but Starlin Castro, low-level prospects, and cash for the NL MVP, that was a no-brainer. And, there's the Jeets conspiracy that Jeter gave him to his former team. Let's not all be fooled. This dude had a no-trade clause. He told Jeter where he wanted to go, and he told Jeter to make it happen.
Oh, yeah. He denied. Who did he deny? I don't entirely remember the teams, but he denied 2 other trades before this.
Yeah. Oh, he didn't. I forget exactly who he did, but he denied. They had 2 deals in place for better prospects. It would have helped the Marlins better. Stanton didn't care.
Yeah.
Stanton didn't want to go to any rebuilds. He was done.
It was Stanton's choice. Like it was like it's like if you're trying to tell LeBron where he's going to go in the NBA. That's basically what Stanton did. He said, "I'm not going to these teams. You're trading me somewhere else."
Absolutely, and I know a lot of people are making a big deal about the money and how much he's going to cost down the stretch, but there's 2 factors that come in. He can opt out of his deal in 3 seasons, which there's a good chance he does to go fishing. If he has 3 good seasons, if he hits another 50, a 40, and a 50, even a 30 in there, a 30 home run year, those like home run numbers, he might opt out for more money. Because the next upcoming free agent class, a dude like Bryce Harper is demanding $400 million. And he's expressed the want to become a Yankee. I don't think the Yankees are going to give him $400 million, but if they didn't land Stanton, they definitely would have considered it because they would have wanted a superstar. So they were another superstar. We got plenty already, but they would have wanted another one. So I think we get off relatively cheap, and if he opts out after 3 seasons, cool. We might get a championship or 2 in between those 3 seasons, and we avoid an A-Rod situation.
Yeah. I don't think that's a problem at all. It's like if he opts out after 3 seasons, I mean, I can see us getting a championship within that time with this lineup.
Absolutely.
So I'm not entirely mad if he does. Like, we have this lineup. We kind of have like a dream team situation, which is scary sometimes when you say dream team. But
yeah, don't be Derrick Rose now.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's going to be good for us either way. I think the money. I mean, what are Yankees? We're supposed to throw around money, so that's just you just take it as it comes there.
We're still currently underneath the luxury tax. That needs to be stated. We are not paying luxury tax, which is insane considering the money we just took in. Now, moving on to another one of our favorite teams that have tortured us, and I think I kind of did this to you because I kind of engraved this team into your blood. The Brooklyn Nets, they've been the laughingstock of the NBA even when they were supposed to be a powerhouse team. I know our boy Dapo is going to laugh at us. He's a Celtics fan, but we took off some dinosaurs off his hands and helped him create what he has with our picks. You're welcome, Dop. But this year, the last year the Nets had the worst record in the league. They fought, but they were just terrible. This year, the vision is coming. Last year our hashtag was Brooklyn Grit. This year we play with Brooklyn Grit. We are a much better team. We have guys, right now we grabbed D'Angelo Russell. Jeremy Lin was back. Both of those dudes are out. And we just won our 11th game. We didn't do that till March 6th last year. It's December 13th. And who's leading the charge? The young core of Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Karis LeVert.
Spencer Dinwiddie.
Spencer. I was going to get to Spence because Spence league needs to be put on notice as Spencer Dinwiddie can ball. The guy he just runs an offense. He scores when you need him to score. He dishes the ball really well. And he's just exactly what we need on this team. With or without D'Angelo Russell and Jeremy Lin, Spencer Dinwiddie needs to be in the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, we got rid of Trevor Booker in a trade for Jahlil Okafor. He hasn't played yet. We shipped off Brook Lopez for D'Angelo Russell. We have moved some pretty important dudes that, most teams maybe wouldn't have moved out of fear, and it's worked out. Now, in terms of your expectations coming into the year, are the Nets exceeding what you thought they were going to do, or you kind of think they're on par with how you thought they were going to be?
I honestly don't think they're really exceeding what I thought they were going to do. I mean, I actually had more expectations for the Nets coming into this year because of the grit they showed. I know we're saying grit a lot, but
Grit Squad.
That's like a new thing that I say a lot when it comes to sports, because for some reason the grittier teams seems to be my teams, that they just show all of the heart in the games, and even if they lose, they fight that team till the end. They make sure that team did not come in and get an easy win. And I don't know if a lot of fans will agree with me, but I assume they would. You love it when you see your team play their hardest, when you don't see them give up. So given that, I expected Brooklyn to come in and play their hardest, especially with new acquisitions coming in. I mean, like you said, we had deloading coming in, we had Jeremy Lin coming back. I mean,
you add Damari Carroll, you add Alan Crabb, you have those exactly. Two big acquisitions.
Yeah, and I mean, we had Karis LeVert, who looked good last year. We had RHJ, who is just progressing more and more. So I mean, we had the grit already, and with the grit, it's going to keep coming, and then just talent is going to keep progressing on this team, and we're eventually going to become a lot better than the laughingstock of the NBA.
Absolutely, and I got to give a shout out to Spencer Dinwiddie. Not only is he becoming a star in his own right, dude is a Dragon Ball super fan. His background on his Twitter is Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. I don't care if people know it. I still love all the Dragon Ball stuff. I'm a big child.
Oh yeah.
So
me too.
shout out to Spence for not caring, and it's cool. And I've been seeing it around all the leagues more. There are a lot of Dragon Ball fans. There are dudes putting in their captions, going Super Saiyan Blue, and making it is really cool to see that culture coming out. A lot of these dudes are around a little bit older than you, a little bit younger than me, but kind of in our generation where Dragon Ball had a big impact. And I just think it's awesome to see these guys coming out and just not being afraid to be the anime nerd and just make it cool. So shout out to Spence. Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta.
Honestly, with that, it's not even being an anime nerd. It's just like the people who loved Pokemon when they were growing up. That's an anime as well, but it's not really an anime anymore when it comes to America. It's fun to be involved in that culture. People know it's fun to be involved in that culture when they watch these shows, and they let their imagination go a little bit with these shows.
So yeah, I just had to throw that little shout out. Spence, you're my boy. Mm-hmm. Now, going back to actual basketball. We talked about a few of the moves that Sean Marks has made, bringing in deloading, Alan Crabb, Damari Carroll, shipping off Booker to get Okafor. What do you think of these moves? Are you a fan of them? Do you believe in them? Do you think Sean Marks is out of his damn mind? How do you feel?
I'm a big fan of these moves. I really like them. I liked Alan Crabb when he was in Portland. He could obviously could shoot threes. He played very well there, with C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard. He played well with them. I liked him coming over. He's just another shooter added. I love Damari Carroll on defense. He plays insanely good defense. And you add deloading. He's a superstar. He's gonna play well for your team. He's gonna show the ice in his veins. He's gonna make those clutch shots. So I love these moves. I think they're great acquisitions. You don't always need to get superstars on your team. I mean, look at what the Lakers did with Steve Nash and Dwight Howard. When they got them, they didn't play that well. Look at the Thunder this year. I think the Thunder are going to become much better after this start, but still, they need to come together and they need to play together. Having superstars on your team doesn't always mean you're going to play great.
I completely agree with that. And, and one of the things when Sean Marks came over, he was a longtime member of the Spurs front office. A lot of people were saying he's probably going to try and make the Nets Spurs East. Do you see that slowly starting to happen? Is that completely crazy to even think that culture is being put in here? Do you think Atkinson and Marks can be make a Spurs type of Eastern team? Like, what do you think that's realistic with the character guys? Because I'm not. People won't call deloading a Jahlil Okafor character guys. Russell had his issues in the Lakers. Okafor had his issue in Philly, but they're getting a second chance. And D'Angelo Russell's done everything right so far. Hoping that Jahlil Okafor can do everything right as well. They're trying to build that character. Do you think that this team can eventually become that Spurs East franchise that has that like sort of premium and excellence to them, pedigree?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think we can. I mean, I don't like calling it Spurs East. I'd rather just call it Nets basketball, Brooklyn grit. But I mean, when you look at the Spurs, it's a gritty team. It's a defensive, gritty team. They're going to punch you in the mouth when they come in. They're going to play team ball. They're not going to try to have anyone really be like that very vocal superstar on there. Like, look at Kawhi Leonard. He's not a vocal guy. He is the silent, scary guy that no one really wants to play
None of them
against.
are. None of them. Going back to David Robinson, who I don't know if a lot of the kids that are going to listen to this even remember who he was, but David Robinson, the Admiral, and then Tim Duncan Young, they were called the Twin Towers for a little while, and they were just beasts. Timmy wasn't a vocal dude. Parker's not a vocal dude. Ginobili's not a vocal dude. Even Aldridge coming in, Pau Gasol, none of them are vocal dudes.
Yeah. And but that's what you see out of the Brooklyn Nets right now. They play team ball. I mean, whether that's out of a force to play team ball because they're not entirely the most talented squad.
I think that's
doesn't
Atkinson's
entirely
system.
matter.
I really think that's Atkinson's system. You see the ball snapping around all the time.
That's
I just
true.
think that's what Kenny Atkinson demands.
That's true. But I mean, like, you're seeing the team ball happen. You're seeing the culture there that no one's really bigger than the team. You're playing for this team. You're trying to win together. You're going to be a family together, and you're going to win games. No matter who's scoring the most points, you're getting the ball in the basket. You're playing good defense, and you're trying to win these games.
Now, Okafor coming over, that's the most recent move. The Nets traded Trevor Booker for Jahlil Okafor, Nick Stauskas, and a second-round pick.
Yep.
Stauskas, I like the kid. I think he's gonna have a second chance. He's a good shooter. He's a squirrely guy. He got some playing time in Philly, and he played decently. He's been riding the pine this year. I like the acquisition. Okafor is a question mark. He was decent in his rookie year, been overshadowed since with Embiid coming back to health. His game is a very old school post up center type of game. And we saw Brook Lopez had to change this under Kenny Atkinson's system. Do you think Okafor, is he going to be a good fit for the Nets? Is everyone kind of a good fit with the way Kenny Atkinson coaches? Can he become a player that, is going to be a starting center and a real good teammate for D'Angelo Russell in the future? Karis LeVert, play alongside Hollis Jefferson down low. What do you see Okafor's fit with the team?
I think with this team, when it's under Kenny Atkinson, I think he just doesn't take any of the BS. I don't think he's like, I think Jahlil Okafor, with the situation he was in with the 76ers, with him just wanting to be out of there so he can play, so he can prove himself, he's going to go with anything that Kenny Atkinson is going to give him. He's going to try to improve himself to the best of his ability in order to show everyone that, hey, man, I'm very good at basketball. Like, this Nets team is going to be part of my team. And he's going to play under Kenny Atkinson's system to show this. And I think Atkinson is going to use him in the way he needs to be used to win games for the Nets.
One thing I noticed, and I don't know if this has been an observation frequently, but it seems like Sean Marks has pounced on the guys that, just needed a little bit of humble pie between D'Angelo Russell. He had his big issue. He wanted out. He ate his humble pie. He realized that this is a grown man's league. You can't do dumb stuff. Jahlil Okafor the same way. Even DeMare Carroll. He left the Hawks, went to the Raptors, wasn't the same guy, ate his humble pie, and, he's back with maybe it's a system thing too, but it seems like Sean Marks is really jumping on these guys that, they just needed to eat a little bit of humble pie and get their act together, and he's kind of grasping at it, saying, listen, we can give you that second chance. Come build something with us, be a professional, and let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, no matter who you are in a professional sport, you want to go out there and prove that you're the best, no matter who you are. Even if people know, they're like, no, you'll never be the best at this. You want to go out and prove that you are the best. You want to try to be the best in that sport. And when someone gives you the chance, especially after you feel like it's been taken away from you or you haven't showed up, if someone gives you that second chance, you're not only going to take that second chance, but most of the time you're going to make the most of it. So I think doing that for like Sean Marks, doing that, giving them these second chances is what really helps this Brooklyn team. And I think that it's just going to keep working out. I don't see it not working out. I think Sean Marks is making great moves here.
Now, what's the next move do you want to see done? Do you want to see him keep on making deals towards the trade deadline to try and acquire more talent? Do you think he should sit tight and now start scouting for the draft? What do you want to see, like even now and into the future, what do you want to see the Nets do next to take that next step?
I mean, I don't know. I think I want to see Sean Marks go ahead and try to make some more moves. Why not? We're not the best team in the league. We're not even mostly like a decent team in the league. Like we just try to show up in every game. So why not keep trying to make moves? Why not keep trying to make these controversial moves that not everyone might go with, but that mostly works out in the future? Take those risks. We have nothing else to lose. We can take those risks. I mean, you could be safe. You could just stop making those moves. You could look at scouting and for the draft, and you could be like, all right, we're going to win games under this system because we've been showing that we can, and we won't make the playoffs, but we'll at least look like a team that's rebuilding well. Or you could go out, take the risks, try to make this team great almost immediately, so you don't flounder it with trying to go to long-term game.
So that's going to be interesting because it doesn't seem like Marks is the type of guy that takes risk. He takes calculated risk. So we'll see what the direction he goes in. Keeping with the NBA, Mark Cuban, you brought this to my attention earlier today. I knew nothing about this, but controversial owner in the NBA, owns the Dallas Mavericks. Very vocal. He's on Shark Tank. He's a billionaire. We all know the dude's story. We all know the dude's story. He was nothing to something. He was just, a shrewd, smart businessman, made his fortune, and now, he lives the dream. Most guys probably do. Love sports, want to buy a sports team. Let me have my fun with it. He made some comments. What was this? Recently, yesterday? When did he make these comments?
I don't entirely remember when he said it. I just remember seeing it, I believe, on Facebook and Instagram because I think ESPN put it up or something like that. But he made the comment that in the future, what sport are like people going to pick over like the over football and basketball? And like he basically made that comment about like the safety issues and everything going on in football and how well basketball's been doing.
Now, again, we obviously had a conversation earlier, and we talked about this, and one of the things that you brought up was the fact that there's no parity in the NBA right now, and that really hurts. You talk to a lot of people. We have even our friends in our group, and one of the contributors on Sports Opinions, K-Doc, Kyle Doctor, talks all the time about how just boring the NBA is and how the college game is so much more intriguing. Because there's a good, you have your traditional powers in Duke and everything, but once March Madness hits, there's so many fun Cinderella stories, so much parity. People prefer the college game over the pro game. So the lack of parity kills the NBA. Where on the flip side, the NFL, with all the complaining, there's the protest that took away some ratings. There's the safety issues. There's all the flags, but there's still parity in the NFL, and fans want to see that. Fans love seeing that type of stuff. So how do you think Mark Cuban's on base, or do you think he's completely off base with this comment?
I mean, I don't think he's completely off base. He definitely has logic in his comment. There is logical consistency in his comment. It wasn't a dumb comment. I just think it could really go either way. You cannot predict the future on these things. Because honestly, for me, this year in the NFL has been one of the most fun years in the NFL watching it happen, because you almost can't predict each week.
The Rams.
You never know what's going to happen.
The Rams. That's all you need to say. The friggin' Rams are the greatest show on turf again. And they're not on turf anymore, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, the Rams, the Vikings, the Eagles playing damn well.
The Jaguars.
The Jaguars,
you said that
Titans,
weird.
Even though they're supposed to come in playing well. I mean, but you guys brought it up last week, you and Rob, how the Warriors getting ejected is almost making the parity in the NBA for it. That's insane if you can even make that comment and it makes sense. That should not make sense. There really isn't parity in the NBA, and it's sad to say, but if you're going to bring up who's going to win a championship this year, well, it's most likely going to be the Warriors, but the Cavs still have LeBron, so they have a chance. Other than that, no one brings up anyone but those two teams.
Well, yeah, the Celtics get a mention with Kyrie in the story,
Well,
but
yeah.
realistically, I still don't think the Celtics are beating the Cavs. I know people are going to bash me for that, but LeBron is still the best player in the world on the planet.
Mhm.
Period. There's still nobody that I think even holds a candle to the man.
Oh yeah.
And like you said, he exists. So he's the pillar in the way of the Warriors, and no one's mentioning how well Kevin Love is playing this year. The guy
Mhm.
is having an all-star year. He's
Yeah.
gonna be an all-star more than likely. So it's like like you said, it's Cavs and Warriors. That's it. It's whoever LeBron is playing for and the Warriors. Because if
Yeah.
LeBron can go to, I don't know, pick a terrible team, pick the
The
Nets
Pelicans.
or
Oh,
the
not the Pelicans. Well,
pick the Nets. He can come to the Nets, and the Nets would be a championship contender. Like that's just God's honest truth. The guy is
yeah.
that good. But looking at this, we talk about the NBA and NFL, and I find it kind of funny that he was talking about what's going to be America's big game, when
Mhm.
for so many years we've been calling baseball America's pastime, and that's
Yeah.
basically making the assumption that that's the big ticket, that's the thing you want to watch in America. But you
Mhm.
have the MLB, which has had an issue with pacing and popularity. And you look at the NHL, which is another major league. They're mostly considered like the fourth
Yeah.
big major league. But you also have the MLS sneaking up right now, and they continue to expand and add teams. You don't
Mhm.
expand unless you're making money,
That's
and
very true.
that means if you're making money, that means you're getting fans. So the MLS is kind of shooting up in popularity. I wouldn't really put it by them jumping the NHL, but where does where does baseball, hockey, soccer now fit in the grand scheme? If Cuban's making comments about the NBA, which still monetarily can't touch the NFL,
Yeah.
but where do you see the rest of these major leagues fitting in?
Well, I mean, the MLB actually might become a little more fun again because of the Yankees being the evil empire. They haven't entirely been that recently, but now they're basically becoming that again. And whenever they do that, it seems to become more fun just because people want to see the Yankees lose. Like people just want to watch just to see the Yankees lose. They want them to lose. So I think people might actually come to the MLB because of that more. But I mean, they're going to have their fan base no matter what. It's America's pastime. People love baseball. They live it. Like it's not even just a sport to them. It is literally a lifestyle. And hockey, for me, hockey, like I enjoy watching hockey. I don't always watch it. I'm not the fan that watches every day. But I think hockey is going to keep its little fan base, but it's not really going to jump anyone, I don't think. And I mean, the MLS, yeah, it could definitely get bigger. I can see it getting bigger mainly because soccer is a worldwide sport.
It's the
And
biggest sport. It's the biggest organized sport on the planet.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, soccer, us Americans, we don't like being overshadowed by the world. So we're going to play soccer more. And I mean, when you bring up these sports and you bring up the popularity of them, I also think you need to think about how much each sport costs to play for these kids when they're growing up. Basketball doesn't cost a lot. You get a basketball, you maybe have some sneakers on, and you find a park and you play basketball. For soccer, you get a ball, you get some sneakers on, you get some kind of goal, you play soccer.
And the thing is,
Football,
you don't even need a goal for soccer. You could just kick around with your friends.
exactly.
Use
Exactly.
two
Like
trees.
these like I feel like that's one of the reasons why hockey might not be as popular. It's because it's going to cost money for you to go and do this. It's gonna cost a little bit of money for you to get into a baseball camp in order to become great in baseball. I mean, like you could say for the same for soccer there, but there's a lot more natural talent that can come out of like basketball, soccer, and football sometimes just because you can go out and get a ball and just do these things.
You talk about camps. That's a whole other podcast. I hate the whole
That's cool.
entire one sports society, but that's a whole other podcast. We're not going to touch that one.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, we're really not going to touch that one because we're starting to run a little short on time here, Dave.
Yeah.
My closing statement that I want to make here is, speaking of parity, who the hell thought that tomorrow night's game against the Knicks and the Nets would be interesting?
I know.
We have, the Russian, the Latvian unicorn coming into Barclays And, the Knicks beat the Nets earlier this year. The Nets are a gritty team. They have a chip on their shoulder. Okafor might make his debut. But who did you predict that earlier this year that the Knicks and the Nets were going to have a fun, meaningful game earlier in the year?
No, I didn't. I actually thought the Knicks were going to be worse than the Nets. Like, I thought Porzingis was going to be great, but I thought much more the Knicks just wasn't going to be useful. But, I mean, the Knicks have been playing out of their mind, and Porzingis has been playing like an absolute stud. Like, he could definitely be – like, if the Knicks could find themselves in a playoff spot somehow in this weak Eastern Conference, he could definitely be up for an MVP. I don't know, in my eyes, with the way he's playing.
Absolutely.
And the Nets have always been fun to watch for me. I think they're a lot more fun to watch this year for almost anyone just because they show up to games. It's not like watching the Browns against some teams sometimes in the NFL. and I just no one expected this year. No one expected the Knicks and the Nets to be a fun game to watch this year because both teams were supposed to be horrendously bad no matter what. So them being a fun game to watch is really fun to see in the NBA because you're not always going to get this. You're not always going to get teams playing better than they're projected in any sport.
All right, and with that, we have to end our time here, Dave, but I had a great time. This was another blast making another podcast, especially when I get to do it with my brother. It's rare that, I barely get to talk to you with you being in college, so this was fun.
That's true. You're always at work.
Yeah, I'm always working. So, David, tell them where they can find you. Give them a Twitter handle.
That's if I remember my Twitter handle. I think it's @QuestAnthemum.
Yeah, you guys probably won't know how to spell that because I don't even think David remembers.
Yeah.
But just thank you all for listening to the podcast yet again. It's another long one, an hour. But again, I think you're going to really enjoy what you hear or what you have heard if you've listened this far. Don't forget to follow the Sports Opinions Twitter. That's @SportsOpinion30. You can follow me, Alex Cuesta, @AQuestaNBN. And once again, thanks for listening to Sports Opinions Podcast. See ya.